Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Ryan. Today we're going to be discussing a distillery called Widow Jane. You may have heard of them. But there was a time where I feel like every time I asked for recommendations on my Facebook groups or in Discord groups, Widow Jane came up pretty frequently. You know, they'd talk about especially the Decadence bottle, how good that was. But then in the recent year, I heard some rumors about the Decadence bottle falling off, people not enjoying it as much. And since then, I really have not heard much mention at all of Widow Jane. Whether it's at the stores, talking with liquor store owners, talking with Discord groups, Facebook groups, I'm just not hearing their name anymore. So who are they? What are they about? Have they fallen off? Is it still something that we should be hunting down? We're going to talk about that a little bit in today's video, and as we do, I'm going to be tasting a couple of selections from them, the 13-year-old, the Lucky 13, and then the 15-year-old bottle as well. So let me go and get these poured, let them start to open up, and we'll chat a little bit. Hey, thanks, Jeff, for sharing these with me. Jeff's in our Discord community. By the way, you should check that out if you haven't already. There's a link in the description. Totally free to join. And, I was talking with another guy in our Discord group just the other day. He's like, yeah, I just got a bunch of samples in that were sent in from one of the other Discord members. They had done a swap of samples because one of them had something the other guy wanted and the other guy had something he wanted. We do stuff like that all the time. Get in the group. Great people helping you track down the bottles that you're interested in. And it makes bourbon hunting a lot easier to do when A, other people are helping you hunt because they know what you're after, and B, you can try something maybe from another person's collection before you spend money on it and take that risk yourself. And a big welcome to all the new people to the Discord, by the way, because we got a lot of new people over the weekend because that Coy Hill video kind of popped off, at least for the size of my channel. So thank you so much for that. Welcome. Okay, Widow Jane, where are they at? So these guys, New York City. Okay, talking about Brooklyn in New York. And what makes them uniquely them, right? That's a good question. So what they've been doing usually is kind of scouring different selections for barrels they can purchase. So it's sourced whiskey, mostly sourced whiskey that they're going around sampling barrels, buying the barrels, having them shipped over to their headquarters there in New York, and they're doing their blending there. So both of the ones we're going to be trying today are blends. You've got, I think the 15-year is Tennessee and Indiana whiskey. I think the 13-year is Tennessee, Indiana, and Kentucky whiskey. So blending some of these things together, we're assuming probably things like, I would assume MGP and Dickel, folks like that. Maybe even some Barton. Who knows? But some of the more common places to get whiskey sourced from. But one of the things that you'll notice is the blends that they're doing, none of them are like cask strength, because part of what makes them uniquely them is that they're using specific water from, it's called I think the Rosendale Mines in upstate New York. It's like a limestone-rich mines. They're using water from those mines to do all of their proofing. That's part of what makes them uniquely them. It's kind of part of their whole process that sort of puts their stamp in the whiskey community. So that's why you're not seeing all this cask strength stuff, because they don't just want to buy somebody else's whiskey and do nothing with it and just blend it together and sell it to you. They want to do something to it that's uniquely theirs. And the proofing is that thing that they do. Now, they also do some of their own distillation. I think like Baby Jane, for example, I think is mostly their own distillate, but it's got a little bit of a blend of some Kentucky whiskey in there as well. So they're starting to blend some of their own stuff in as well with like heirloom grains. So it'll be interesting to see kind of where their distillate goes as it continues to mature and develop. But most of the stuff people are picking up from Widow Jane consistently is stuff that's not their own distillate, and then they do stuff with it, whether it's like the Decadence where they're aging it in secondary barrels to give it a unique flavor profile or whatever. So let's dive in here. We're going to start with the 13-year, and I think these are both the most recent releases of the 13 and 15. The 13-year is 93 proof. MSRP is about $100. On the nose, I know Steven's going to give me a hard time for this one, but I gotta say it. Melted butter. It's really buttery on the nose. Like fresh melted butter that you're brushing across something. Butterscotch caramels. A little bit of a gentle, sweet cinnamon and brown sugar oak as well on the nose, which is pretty nice. And just a fuzz of charcoal as well. When a fire is burning down, you've had it blazing for hours, but you stopped, added new firewood to it. It's burning down. It's just the blackened logs that are left there before they crumble. This reminds me of that. All right, let's go in on it. Cheers. Tastes a lot like just standard Dickel. That charcoal note is really prominent. I think it's kind of swallowing up the sweet oak we were getting on the nose too. Like the cinnamon and brown sugar oak we got on the nose, I think is getting overshadowed by the charcoaly notes. The butterscotch is in there still. It's pretty consistent throughout the mid palate and then into a little bit of the finish as well. The finish reminds me of, I give this a note sometimes, and I feel like it sounds like a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. But I get a lot of the charcoal on the finish, but then also this sort of like crisp, clean lake water vibe. And I know that's like, who would want to just sit there and lap up lake water, right? We spend a lot of time in the lakes. We're, West Michigan folks, and there's just lakes everywhere here. We like to go up to the, like Silver Lake up at the dunes. We spent a couple of weekends there just this past weekend, a weekend before that, on the water, in the boat. We usually park it on the dune side, and then me and the kids, the dog, all hop into the lake. I love to swim. I'll swim way out into the lake, tread water for a while. My wife stays on the boat, soaking up the rays, So when I say crisp, clean lake water, just know that I prefer to be in the lakes when I'm, off the clock. If it's up to me, we're at the lakes every day, man. So that's a good thing to me. And I wonder if that's coming through because of the way that they do their proofing. I gotta say the palate on this is a little flat though. My favorite things about it are, the mid to late palate and then into the finish. Up front, I find it pretty underwhelming though. I want some of that butterscotchy butteriness to be there on the palate, but it feels really thin instead. I understand why it would be priced at $100 if it is a 13-year-old product that is sourced. Obviously, they had to pay a premium for that product to bring it back, proof it down, and then bottle it, label it, ship it. So I understand that $100 price point, but for me and my money, I don't think I would be willing to spend $100 on this bottle myself. Before I score it per my scale, I'm gonna taste the other one. We'll score both of them simultaneously at the end. This one's definitely darker in color. So this is the 15-year. So 2 extra years of age on it, but the price is more than double. So you're looking at $250 to $300 for this bottle is what I was seeing online for most online liquor stores, and that's with a pretty minimal markup. $250 to $300. It comes in at 99 proof. Definitely a nice darker, richer color on this. Kind of like that antique copper. Nose gives me fresh wood shavings in a wood shop, a little dust in the air, kind of a dusty quality to it, but it's also a little sweet, a little peppery. Like a buttercream frosting. No, cream cheese frosting on the nose. A lot of bright sweetness and a doughy quality. It makes me think of like cinnamon and sugar, on a slice of buttered toast. The more I sit with it, the more that oak comes forward. Could be the 15 years of age on it and less proofing down, but I'm getting a lot more oak on the nose, which is nice and gentle, delicate, brown sugary. Really nice nose. Let's try it. Cheers. It's a lot more oily than the last one. The last one was really thin. Even at just 99 proof, which isn't a ton of proof, but it managed to maintain some of that oily coating in your mouth. Sweet bubblegums and black licorices come forward on the mid palate, which is actually a really nice pairing to me. The oak comes in waves. Right up front on the front end of the palate, I get hit with a wave of oak. It subsides, lets the sweet bubblegum and black licorice come out. They're on the mid palate, and then the oak comes back after that as we transition into the finish. We ride those waves of oak. And a little bit of that charcoal pepperiness as well, right alongside it in the finish. Yeah, tasting this one is a much, I think, more complete package. It has a nice relationship between a couple of different notes that are coming through. It transitions smoothly between one to the next. It takes you on a nice little journey there. Overall, I like that a lot more than the first one. Here's the problem. You think about something like the Russell's Reserve 15-year bottle, right? Another bottle that's going for between $250 and $300 right now. So how many people are going to be inclined, if they have $250 to $300 to blow, to go hunt this bottle down as opposed to something like a Russell's 15, which is getting rave reviews. Everybody's talking about it versus something that I don't see anybody talking about. It's definitely a tough market out there for smaller people who do blending like this because they do have to pay more for the product because they're not doing it all themselves. So they're paying for a premium for it, and they got to turn that product around and make a profit, so the price tag goes up. And then you've got other people who are comfortably cruising as legacy distillers in a market where bourbon hunting is like, super popular to do right now. And so they've got that security underneath them right now. They can sit on a product for 15 years and not feel like they're taking a big loss. So they can afford to do these big projects like Russell's 15 is doing right now and have it be a really big and really successful endeavor and make ripples in the bourbon community. Meanwhile, a lot of these legacy distillers are also making money because they're just taking that same 15-year-old product from their warehouse and they're giving some of those barrels away. Obviously, they're selling them to people who want to blend them, who want to source it. So these legacy guys are eating pretty good right now compared to people like Widow Jane who have to pay a premium for the same juice and mark it up much more to turn a profit. So I understand that it's hard for them. But as a buyer, it's really hard to justify spending that much money on a product like this. Even if I do like it, especially this 15-year, I think it's actually pretty good in terms of just the way that it tastes, the journey that it takes you on. I like a lot of those notes. But just like you, I assume, I've got a budget for bourbon every month. And I don't want to blow basically all of it on a single bottle, unless I know for sure it's going to deliver. So it's really hard for someone like me to purchase a bottle like this. Let me give these bottles a score per my scale, and then we'll wrap up the conversation. Hang on. As that continues to sit with me, the 15-year, I just got this raspberry note right on the tail end of the palate and into the finish a little bit. That was pretty good. Anyways, so if I'm going to give these a score per my scale, I think for the 13-year at $100, I'm going to give this one a score of 6.4 because it's decent. I didn't dislike it. There's nothing, apparently wrong with it per se. I think it was decent, a little thin, left me wanting some more of those buttery caramely notes that we got on the nose. I wanted some more of that in the palate, maybe that silkier mouthfeel, and we just weren't getting it. So it's decent. It's a maybe buy. If you want to try it out, maybe buy it. The 15-year though, I'm going to give that one a flat 7 because I do think it's really good. Actually, the more I sit with it, the more it opens up a bit. And I like some of these raspberry notes as well that are coming alive, the more that it just sort of sits in the back of my palate for a while. Yeah, it's opening up quite nicely. But it is $250 to $300. That's a lot of money. And a product like that really needs to justify its own price tag when it costs that much. It needs to give you a reason. It needs to validate your purchase by delivering an experience that is worthy of the investment cost. And I'm just not sure this one does that, even though it is really good. So I think that's where I would land on these. Thanks again, Jeff, for sharing them with me. I appreciate your generosity, brother. As always, he's sending a lot of stuff for us. Some stuff that's been absolute bangers. He sent in a 13th Colony Hazmat pick once, which was phenomenal. He sent in some Barrel King, Four Roses, limited release stuff. The Russell's 13 I got to try first, came from him. Appreciate you, Jeff. But that's where I'm at on Widow Jane. So, have they fallen off? Well, I think maybe a little bit, because I'm just not hearing much about them anymore. And I wonder if people started out with a real sweet tooth and enjoyed the decadence, but it's been such a competitive market the past couple of years, hasn't it? Like, all the new releases that we're getting, the new expressions we're getting, and these other micro distilleries that are popping up, and other people who are sourcing and blending, and things like Barrel King are coming alive too. It's like, man, there's just so many products out there vying for a spot on your shelf. You only have so much money to go around. So I wonder if because of that, people are starting to experiment a little bit more, branch out a little bit more, and find these hidden gems, and things like Widow Jane might sort of fall to the wayside a little bit because of it. Well, I want to know what you think. Have you ever had anything from Widow Jane? If you have, what did you think about it? And have you continued to buy products from them after your initial purchase? I would love to hear from you in the comments section below. Thanks as always for tuning into the video. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like on it, as that's the best free way to support the content right here on YouTube. And consider subscribing for additional whiskey content. Kick your shoes off. Stay a while. Don't forget about our Discord. Love to see you get involved there. A big shout out to my Patreon supporters who fund the bottles that I get to pick up and review every month here on the channel. I couldn't do it without you guys, quite honestly. I know I say that a lot, and it's because I absolutely mean it. If you want to get involved in the Patreon group, you can do so for as little as $1 a month. Just $1 a month for the initial sign up for the base tier. Yeah, every little bit helps. Appreciate you guys. And so, cheers, my friends. May you live richly and get better with age, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.